This is the Mad Dragons Podcast. Well, g'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mad Dragons Podcast. And it's grand final week. The Dragons will not play a more important game in 2023 than this game on Thursday night up against the Tigers. So, Hazman, take us through the Dragons squad.
G'day, Dragons fans. Welcome to Teamless Tuesday for the round 21 clash with the West Tigers in a game that's being dubbed by many as the Shithouse Cup. Here's how the Dragons will line up. So Tyrell Sloan is at fullback, Matt Feeney and Michaeli Ravalawa on the wings, Moses Sully and Zach Lomax in the centres. Junior Ramone will partner the returning Ben Hunt in the halves. The forwards are Frankie Molo and Blake Laurie, Jacob Little at hooker. In the second row, we have Donny's boy, Billy Burns, and Dan Russell getting a start, which is good to see. Jack DeBell unlocking the scrum. And on the bench, we've got Moses Zambai, Michael Molo, Toby Couchman, and Jack Bird, and Zane Musgrave is the 18th man. So back to you, Donny.
Beautiful. Thanks, Hazman. Well, we will talk a bit more about the Dragons squad in a little bit, but before we talk about the Dragons, as we do every week, we've got to talk about the opposition. So let's dive into this.
Come with me as we go behind enemy lines.
Well, g'day, Dragons fans. I'm Big T, and this is Behind Enemy Lines, round 21. Before I bring on our guest, I'll run through the Tigers team for this week. At the fullback is Jareen Buller, David Norfoluma, and Junior Tupu on the wings, Staffatoa and Tommy Talau in the centres. Dane Laurie, Brandon Wakeham in the halves. Front row, Stefano Uto Ikamanu, Little Appy, and Big David Clemmer. Isaiah Papali'i, John Bateman, Sean Ballor locks the scrum. On the bench, we have De Silva, Pole, Seafaf, Alex Twal, 80th man is James, and the coach is Tim Sheens. We've got a very, very special guest this week. Balmain royalty, 244 game Balmain superstar, New South Wales and Queensland, the legend, Garry Jack. Welcome, Gaz.
Tony, thank you for the invitation on your program, and thank you, Mad Dragon, Hazman, Mickey, on 69, Ping, and Muzza. It's great to be here on your show. Thanks for the introduction.
No, mate, I reckon the other boys have got plenty of questions for you. Were you always a Balmain supporter when growing up?
No. I was a South Sydney fan when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I was devastated in '69 when Balmain beat South Sydney. I was a Ronnie Coote, little number 8. I used to wear him back on my jersey, and then when Ronnie Coote went to the Roosters, I became a Roosters fan. I became a Roosters fan then for 3 or 4 years that he was there. So no, definitely not a Balmain Tiger. That didn't happen until later on.
Well, later on, eh?
Yeah, a lot later on.
Well, both our clubs are basket cases at the moment. The joint ventures, they're both just not working. We on the Mad Dragons podcast, every week we talk about Dragons problems. But the Tigers, they've had 6 coaches in the last 12 years. A plethora of talent has left the club. Pappenhausen, Adokar, Moses, and many more.
Yeah.
Made the finals 3 times in 23 years.
Yep.
None in the last 12.
Yep.
What's the problem at Balmain? Because we know our problems. What's
It's
the problem
not
at Balmain?
Balmain for a starter.
Oh, sorry. What's the problem at West Tigers?
I don't know. And I seriously don't know. But they
Yeah.
can't fix it up, whatever it is, you know. They've had, as you said, a plethora of coaches come and go and players. So with no results. And a lot of times they have a coach and they sack him mid-season. They've done that to a few coaches.
They've had a few caretaker coaches as well.
Had a few caretaker coaches as well. You know, it's quite embarrassing as a club to have that sort of turnover of coaches. It never happened back in the 80s and 90s. And yeah, I think it's embarrassing for the club, all those coaches that have been sacked. And we've never had a wooden spoon until last year, and we're probably odds on for a wooden spoon back to back, unless we win this must-win game against the Dragons. But you know, so it's a must-win game. So I don't know what the problem is, mate.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's Donny's named this podcast the Wooden Spoon Cup this week. So that's what we're playing for. I think whoever loses this one are in trouble. We're talking about coaches. Tim Sheens hasn't coached in the NRL since 2012, and that was at the Tigers. He's come back in 2023, 11 years out of the NRL. Is he past his use-by date?
Oh, probably. Yeah, I think they didn't probably do, you know, they didn't probably do their due diligence when they brought him back. He hadn't been successful for 10 years since he left in 2012. So it's a big move to bring him back in, you know, and it's a results-driven business. And, you know, the results aren't there. They weren't there last year, even though he was Kamali was the coach, but he was in the background. Yeah. And the results aren't there this year. He's won, what, 3 from 15 games, I think. That's unacceptable. So, you know, poor Michael Maguire, he got the sack when he was 4 from 12 when Tim Sheens tapped him on the shoulder. So 3 from 15. Yeah, it's worse than we've gone backwards in 12 months.
Yeah, we've gone backwards as well. As hopefully we move forward with Shane Flanagan. I don't know how much you're involved with the Tigers now, but in Tiger Town, the front office doesn't talk to the engine room. And Lee Hapagangelis, is that his name? Hapagangelis? Pretty close anyway. He signed Scott Fulton as their recruitment manager without even talking to Benji or Tim or even Robbie for that matter. Doesn't seem to be a people person, Lee. Would he be the problem?
Oh, he'd be probably part of the problem. You know, I think it's all about strong leadership, and you know, clubs have tough times, but I think you've got to have strong leadership and communication between the coaching and the front office. And you know, there's no doubt that our front office is, when that sort of stuff happens, it's not good. And it certainly upset Tim Sheens and how some of the changes that have happened. Yeah, and certainly he wasn't in favour of Scott Fulton coming on board. But I think Scott Fulton's a good buy for the club, and I think he's got a great knowledge of footy talent coming through. And I think he'd be an acquisition for the Tigers. You know, it might, it probably how it's come about hasn't been the best, but I think it's a really good move for the club.
Now, he's got plenty of contacts with the player managers and everybody, and he brought a few players through for Manly. So they're sort of coming through now. Olakawatu and Sipley and those boys come through with him. So let's get off management. We've talked about them. We've talked about coaches. How are the Tigers going to beat the Dragons on Thursday?
I think there's probably going to be plenty of points scored. I think this could be a game 58-60 or maybe even 60 all. It could be a really high scoring game. You know, this could set all records, this game. I think it's a real potential to be the highest scoring game between both clubs.
In NRL history. Let's do it.
In NRL history, yeah. I do think so. Because they both average about 30 points a game. So when they're playing each other, it could be 60.
Nice. All right, anybody else got a question for our legend? Anyone?
Rob had a question.
Yeah, Gary, lovely that you've come onto the show, mate. Really appreciate it. Absolutely magnificent rugby league player, and just admire what you've done in your time, mate. But mate, I was thinking about a fullback that played for the Dragons back in your period. Lovely guy. I miss him. A man called Brian Johnson, if you remember him. I'm sure you would have played against him in the back line of time. You had Brian Johnston, Michael Beattie, Slippery Morris, Ricky Walford. But Brian Johnson, mate, did you enjoy your time playing against Brian? And
Oh, he was a very good player. I actually watched him down here when I was a young kid. I grew up in Illawarra. I played for West and he played for Dapto. He's probably about 4 years older than me. So I watched him as I was coming through when he played for Dapto with Steve Morris. Steve Morris was Warwick Sherlaw was playing halfback. So then Slippery was on the wing. So I watched him coming through. And when he played for Country, and then we went to St George in 79 and they won the comp. So yeah, a great player. A very elusive player. Had a lot of respect for him as a player, and had to be watched. He was a very dangerous attacking fullback. And I watched all the fullbacks of that time, and Graham Eady and Gary Dowling. Was a great era for fullbacks. Alan McMahon was there, and all of a sudden Jono's playing first grade and in a premiership team. So always he's up there with one of those great young fullbacks as well. So to play against those sort of guys is I was quite in awe of those guys when I first started, because they were like my idols, and so when you play against them, it's it's a big experience. And I played against him probably at least half a dozen more than that, I suppose, over about a 5-year period, and we had plenty of tussles. He was very, as I said, he's very in the clear. He was very quick, and so if you showed him the sideline, you had to make sure that you got to him before he got to the try line, because otherwise he'd just burn you off. I had enormous respect for Brian as a player, and then I went to England and I was a coach over there, and he was coaching Warrington and I was coaching Salford, so I got to meet him outside of footy as well. Which was great, and I think there was a lot of respect between us. And it's very sad what happened to Brian. He passed away probably 3 or 4 years ago now, maybe longer. I'm not quite sure, but very sad how it all came about. I think it was motor neuron disease. I think he had at the end, and it was a very, very sad the way it all panned out. But a great player and very fit, never drunk, always looked after himself. He's a fitness fanatic, and he was one of the great fullbacks that I looked up to as a kid.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, Muzzo, you've got your hand up for a question there, mate.
Yeah, g'day, Jimmy. Nice to chat to you again, mate.
Yeah, you too, Muzz.
Yeah, mate. With the merger, Tony basically stole my question about how bad we're all going and how you think it all went. So I'll just bypass that. But it is strange that the Northern Eagles did nothing. The Tigers are struggling. You guys won a premiership early. We won a premiership, and we've all gone to shit. But my real question, I guess, was when the merger did take place, and being a proud Balmain boy, did you embrace it to start with, or did it take you a little bit of time to?
Oh, look, that's a tough one. Yeah, I probably did. I did probably embrace it to start with. I actually got up and spoke at the function at Balmain Leagues Club that I thought it was a good idea for us the sides to Western Met and Balmain to come together. This was 24 years ago, when it was at Balmain. So I was in favour of it to start with, but a lot's happened since then. Obviously since then, Balmain Leagues Club no longer exists. That happened about probably 12, 13 years ago. I think the club was shut down, and we were paying. It was 50-50 between the two, between West and Balmain, and then Balmain were unable to put any financial funds into the club. So obviously West have carried the can for the last dozen years and done a fantastic job carrying the can without the joint venture, without Balmain putting any money in. So the NRL obviously helps too with their grant as well. But so Balmain really, obviously with that came, there's not 50-50 in the board anymore. It's 75 West and 25 Balmain. I think Balmain have only got maybe 2 on the board, and the rest are West guys. So Balmain have little impact or little input into how the sides ran. So, you know, it might be the West Tigers, but it's really West that are running the whole show. I think Danny Stapleton's there from Balmain. I think he's probably the only one. So really, the whole joint venture is ran by West. I tried to get onto the board last year to try and add some another footy head to it, but I was knocked back by the board. By Lee Halgingilla said that the board didn't want to change the structure. They were happy with the current structure, and I was told that I was unsuccessful with my tender to get onto the board. So, you know, the input from Balmain is minimal.
Wow. So they're happy with that. That's like us saying we're happy with our board.
Yeah.
No,
You've got problems too, but you've got other problems.
Yeah. Similar problems, but different. Yeah.
Similar but different. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Jesse.
Hey Gary, nice to meet you.
Hey mate.
Jesse.
Hey Jesse.
You probably get asked this question a lot. Probably not for the best reasons for you and your team in 1989, the grand final.
Yep.
It still gets spoken about as one of the best grand finals of all time. Despite the loss, what's your fond memories of that grand final?
Fond memories. There was probably it was a really hot day. I remember it was a really hot day, and we played at 3:00, and you know, I thought we played pretty good. We played pretty good, you know. I just meant the pace of the game. Even though we got a bit of a start on them, and I think we led. We got Andy Courier. Ciro scored a try for Andy Courier kick, and then James Grant took an intercept, and we led 12-2. I made a tackle on Wood just over the corner, which he probably could have scored, but I just got him over the sideline, so that sort of kept us, 12-2 ahead at half time. Could have been 12-6 or 12-8. I thought we played pretty good. We did cop a bit of a hiding in the penalties that first half. It was 6-1 against us from Harrigan. But despite that, we there was a stage there. I think we went to 14-2 ahead, and that was probably with maybe 20 minutes to go. And I remember jogging back, and that was the only time in the game for a fleeting second I thought we're going to win this. At 14-2, I thought we're going to win this. And it didn't stop from my commitment, but that's just for that fleeting second I thought but then I obviously focus on back onto the job again, and we still had 20 minutes to go. And a lot happened in the next 20 minutes. A lot happened in the next 20 minutes. Warren Ryan replaced Blocker, and that was the wrong. Should never have done that. Should never have done that. He'd done it 2 weeks before we played Cronulla, and he replaced him in that game as well, with 20 minutes to go. And we just got out. We just won 9-2 against Cronulla to get in the grand final. And that was Ryan Sattlery was his offside, and he said, Block's walking. He needs to be rested, and needs to come off. So that was a crucial change. And Blocker was our leader. Now Wayne Pearce was the captain, but Block was our leader. He was our forward leader, and whenever Blocker went, Ciro followed him. And it was the Australian front rower. He was up for the fight. And when Block went, Ciro went. Ciro went, Block went, and it kept the Canberra forwards, I think, very honest in the middle, because they knew if they ran in the middle, they're going to get whacked by Block or Ciro. And then he replaces Block and puts, I think, Kevin Hardwick come on, put Bruce Maguire up to the front row, and then they got a try and they got back into it to 14 points to 8. And it was still nip and tuck. It was still nip and tuck even at that stage, but we just didn't get, the Bruce Maguire penalty, which was given by Bill Harrigan for Bruce being offside or not playing in the right spirit of the game. That's how we described it. Yeah, not playing in the right spirit of the game, when clearly Steve Walters was offside. Crucial decision, that one. Absolutely, it was a penalty to us every day of the week. If you had a captain's challenge, you'd challenge it, you'd win every day of the week. They put it out and scored that set of 6 to get back to 14-8. Then we had a game on our hands. but not Steve Roach not being there was crucial to it. And then Ciro got replaced just on full time. And in those days, if you wanted to send a player on, you could go down to the sideline and he'd wait for a break and play and get on. Now, they scored. And when they scored, because Ciro actually tackled Johnny Ferguson, knowing that if they kick the goal, it goes to 14 all goes to extra time, they should not have made that change. They should have left Ciro on there so we got extra time. But behind the goal line, Mick Podgy said, Ciro, I'm going on, you're going off. So they swapped over, which should never, ever have happened, because that's how it was back in those days. You put someone on and they just did what they were told. These days, it would have been fixed up. So we went in, Mick Podgy played second row, and it was just a nightmare. The extra time was just a nightmare. For the last, we were just chasing our tail. They had all the ball. They had Ricky Stewart kicked the leather off the ball. And we really, then obviously at the end of the game, they put the bomb up. And, as I've said before, Steve Jackson came out and said that he tipped it back. His hand tipped it back. And I said, Locker said that to me. I said, yeah, I'm telling you, his hand did tip it back because I never touched it. And that was a crucial tip back, because in those days, you'd catch the ball like this, ball comes down. And he just jumped ahead and tapped it backwards and went straight to Laurie Daly and straight to Chicker, and they scored the try. So, these days you'd take it above your head, but it was a crucial tap back from Jackson, and then he scored the try in extra time. They were still leading. I think that Ricky Stewart, it was Sullivan kicked the field goal 15-14, and then that made it 19-14, and Mal missed the kick, which was a pretty easy kick. Yeah, so it was just devastation from then on. Just in the last 20 minutes, last was just carnage. We just never had no ball and no go forward. So sorry for putting a downer on it. Yeah, just relived it in my study. I'm just reliving it out. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So stuff them. That's what I say. Stuff them.
Nice. Anybody else?
I might ask one question about the evolution of the fullback role. I think that the role's probably changed a fair bit since your day. But what do you see as the key differences between fullbacks now and fullbacks in your day?
Yeah, certainly the position has evolved, and now fullbacks are like an extra 5'8". When they come in around that inside centre, they're like extra. They're ball players. It's evolved now to ball, and it really started to change around probably when Darren Lockyer was there. He was at 5'8". He was too small to play 5'8", so they put him back at fullback. So even though he was a very good fullback, he just wasn't a very good tackler. So they put him back there, and it sort of evolved from there. That extra man to create, and Billy Slater sort of perfected it. That coming in to take it to that extra level. Billy Slater, wow, what a player! 180 odd tries and 30 odd Test matches for Australia, and he sort of took it to another level. Everyone sort of copied Billy Slater what he's done, and it certainly is the way the modern game's played. But I watch the game now, and I see fullbacks letting balls bounce at fullback. I go, you can't be serious. How can you be a fullback and let the ball bounce? They do. They let it bounce.
Yeah,
I mean, they cut your arms off you in my day if you let it bounce. There's no, and we'd probably caught 10 bombs in the game or 8 bombs in the game. You'd try and catch every one. They let the ball bounce. And I also see fullbacks, if you watch, a lot of them now playing the front line, which is also a no-no, because smart teams are waking up to it now, and they realise that there's no sweeper, and they'll just put it behind the line. And Queensland scored a try that way against New South Wales. Tedesco was in the front line or the other side of the field. So it's evolved, but a couple of some of those decisions by fullbacks, and they all tend to play up, and they all tend to let the ball bounce these days. You'd never let it bounce in our day. So it could be better. A lot of them there are just there to create the extra man. I don't think there's too many real good defenders here. They just want to attack all the time. In my day, a try saved is like scoring a try. My first thing when I went out to play was get your defence right, and the attack will come. And that's how I thought about it. But it seems to be the other way around now. But they're amazing. They're amazing athletes. The way they catch the ball, up above their hand, above their head with the high marks. And I really love watching the game and watching how it's evolved. And it's fullbacks are probably the key player in every side. If you haven't got a good fullback, you're not really a threat for the premiership.
Yeah. Do you think the Bombs go higher nowadays?
Higher?
Yeah. Look at
Yes.
Matt Burton's kick.
Yeah. Well,
And do you think that's why they let it bounce? Because it's floating around everywhere and they can't even find it?
They probably can't even see it.
That's right.
Yeah, they definitely go higher, and they do. The ball moves in the air as well.
Yeah.
Because the ball's not leather now. Now it's a synthetic, so it does float a lot more. And it does go a lot. If you hit it on the sweet spot, it'll just take off. And yes, it certainly does. But still the same basic. You watch the ball, you just got to make sure that you can cradle the ball, watch it all the way through to your chest, into your arms as you're catching it. That doesn't change, and it wouldn't be easy being a fullback today with Burton putting those kicks up, because it's the last 10 feet they move about 3 or 4 feet in the air, and you've really just it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
In my day, it was all end over end, but there was a few floaters. Remember one day I played against St George, and who was it? I think it might have been Walker. Walker was playing for St George, and he put up a bomb, and I've had to turn, run towards me try line, and the thing dead set moved about 10 foot in the air as it was coming down. And little did I know, right behind me was Gordy Tallis.
Oh, jeez.
So as the ball come down, I was running towards my own try line, not running up the field, and I could hear these footsteps. I thought, oh God, don't let it bounce, just don't let it bounce. And then I put my hand, hit my fingertips, and like sort of kicked it dead. And we won, and we got there in the end. But that could have gone anywhere. I guarantee you, it would have bounced over my head, and Gordon would have scored it. And that's when he was a tearaway 19-year-old second rower. So so whatever it's got to take, you just got to make sure that you catch him or put it dead.
Yeah.
And Gary, I can't help myself, mate. I'm sorry, guys. Gary, best player you played with, mate, and best player you played against.
Look. There's probably a couple.
I think it was a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple there. Look, Brett Kenny was fantastic, an absolute genius to play with it, and nightmare to play against. And Brett Kenny, you look at Brett Kenny's career, he won 4 premierships by the time he was 25. That's just incredible. 4 premierships. He'd won a Lance Todd Trophy. He'd been on 2 Kangaroo tours by the time he was 26. He made the 82 Kangaroo tour as the second 5'8", and then got into the side, and that played Wally when Wally was number 1 5'8", and then 4 years later I got to play with Brett for New South Wales and for Australia, and then I just realised, wow, you just followed him. You just followed him, and things just happened. And I'd love to have played with him at Parramatta or play with him at Balmain, because he was just an absolute freak what he could set up. And then in '86, Wally was the Australian captain, and Brett had to be in the side, so they put him inside centre with Gene Miles, and he was just devastating. So Brett would be probably the most gifted player I've played with, and Wally would be the most cunning, shrewd, motivational player that I played with. He was just a winner at all costs, and he was tough, and he could tackle, and he could, when he wanted to, no one could. But he had a kicking game too. He had a great kicking game, which Brett didn't have a kicking game, and they formed a great combination in '86, and they got on really well together. Which it was just so great on that '86 tour to play with. Here I am at fullback, and I've got Peter Sterling in front of me. I've got Wally Lewis. I've got Brett Kenny. I've got Gene Miles. I've got Michael O'Connor one side, and I've got Dale Shearer the other. I'm going, wow, how lucky am I? Just a great backline to play behind. And so those 2 players stand out for me as the best.
Thanks, Gary.
You're right. No worries.
Okay, that seems to be it. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Gary. You're an absolute legend. It's been great talking to you. But this is the time of night where I like to take a walk down memory lane We're going to go back to the Dragons Tigers game, round 5, 2017. Referees were Henry Perenara and Matt Noyan in front of just over 13,000 at ANZ. This man here had a man of a match performance. After a no try from Tedesco, the Dragons just left with a well-worked move. Magnificent pass, flick clash from Tim Laffey, Jason Nightingale over in the corner. Superb kick from the sideline, Dragons 6-0.
Yeah,
Then just a few minutes.
All the best.
All right, mate. See you later.
No, I'm only joking.
Then just a few minutes later, with a nice chick kick over to the corner, flows over again. Dragons 10-0. Just before halftime, Jason Nightingale over for his first halftime hat trick against shift to the left. Whittick, a pinpoint pass, 25 metres to the chest of Nightingale. Dragons 14-0 at halftime. Dragons scored a try in the 49th minute. Kevin Nagama scored the try. And another one of those plethora of players has left the club. Mitchell Moses kicks the goal. Dragons 14-6. 58th minute, Gareth moving left again. Grubbers into the in goal. Tim left by pounces. Dragons 20-6 after the kick. 5 to go. Neno McDonald right through this time. 25 out. Hands. McCrane drops the ball on his right boot. McDonald's speed, skill, touches down. 26-6. Then move just about time up. Penalty to Dragons right in front. And you wouldn't guess who kicked the goal. Leeson Armour kicks his first goal in the NRL. 28-6 to the Dragons. By the way, Leeson Armour retired with a 100% goal kicking record. That brings us to the end of Behind Enemy Lines, down memory lane. Thanks for being with us, mate. You've been an absolute champion. As they say in the classics, the rest is history. Back to you, Donnie.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Gary. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and to get a bit of insight into the Tigers, but probably more enjoyable was just having a bit of a chat about your career.
Yeah, no problem, fellas. Thanks, Mad Dog Dragon, Mickey, Tony, Jesse, and the Hasman. It's been a pleasure having a chat with you guys. I love me footy. I love talking footy. So no problem at all. It's been great just going down memory lane and have a chat to you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
on.
mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Jimmy.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too, sweetie. Bye bye.
Sweetie.
You're welcome.
I
told you, sweetie.
Thank you so much.
I think you'll find he was talking to me, Coco, but
Oh, stop it, Captain. It was all about me, okay?
Sweet like sugar. All right. Moving right along. Hopefully everyone out there really enjoyed that. Joanne Cole in the comments, a Balmain Tigers supporter in the comments seemed to really enjoy having a chat with Garry Jack, and I know I certainly always enjoy getting a chance to chat to some of these legends, and if you want to hear more from some legends and get along to Muzz's League of Legends, is that what it's called, Muzzer?
Yeah, mate.
Give it a plug, mate.
Muzz's League of Legends. Yeah, jump on Facebook, and yeah, we've done a few chats. Yeah, Jimmy Jack, Mark Geyer, Noel Goldthorpe was the most recent one. Choppy Close, and yeah, got a couple of good ones lined up over the next few weeks. So yeah, jump on, give it a follow, and yeah, have a look. Cheers, Donnie.
No worries. Fantastic. All right. Well, now we get into our little interactive segment. So let's do this one.
Okay, good evening, guys. Welcome to Jags Dragons Tribute for this week. So my question is, regarding our biggest ever win against the Tigers. So you might have to delve into the archives a little bit to find the answer for this one. So, who scored 4 tries in our biggest ever win over the Tigers? And this is joint venture. So both St George Illawarra and the West Tigers. So who scored 4 tries in the Dragons' biggest ever win over the West Tigers?
There we go. 4 tries in the St George Illawarra Dragons' biggest ever win over the West Tigers. Who was that player? So we'll keep an eye on the comments to see if anybody's got any sage guesses. Who are no, we don't have any guesses just yet. But while we're waiting for a couple to come through, we might move into having a bit of a chat about our team. And I'll start with you, Muzzer. Talking about the players that aren't playing, the players that don't appear in this squad. Jaden Sullivan out injured. He got injured in the last game that we played. He's out for until at least round 26, possibly out for the rest of the season. Jaden Sewer's done for the season. Ben Murdoch-Masilla back either next week or the week after. Viliami Fafita maybe back for the last few rounds of the season. So it looks like round 24 might be the earliest that he's back. I suppose of those more recent injuries, which do you see as the biggest losses for the Dragons?
Well, this stage of the year, it's probably not going to really matter either way with Buddy. If he's due back, even at the last game, I just rest him, put him on ice, get him in the gym, get him ready for a big off season and round to go next year. I wouldn't even risk him, even with 2 games to go. I wouldn't worry about it. Jaden Sewer, well, he's gone for the year, so not much we can do about that. Give the Couchman boys a bit of time in the middle, bit of game time. It'll give them a chance to do that. Hopefully they both get a good run. Ben BMM, well, we've spoken a bit about him over the last few weeks. Thanks for giving me that again, Donnie. But look, if he's back, he can trade in reserve grade and learn what it takes to make more than 4 or 5 runs a game. That'd be good for a start. But I mean, I just can't understand a bloke that size that doesn't do the workload. But you can imagine if he was doing those 8 or 9 runs every half, he'd be just unstoppable. Fafita, he's another one who probably needs some more time in reserve grade if he's part of the plans moving forward. I'd really love to see him really come on because he looked good early. And I know he sort of wasn't doing a lot in reserve grade, but I saw a bit of highlights when he was with Manly, and he did look good. So I really hope that he can come along and get a shot next year.
Yeah, I think Viliami Fafita is probably a big one for me. He's one that I get a lot of questions about, and trying to get the message out there that he's been injured for the last month. That might be a reason why he's not getting picked, and he's out for at least another month. So, he's probably not going to get picked for the next month either. So, hopefully other people start to get that message out there that it's hard to pick a guy when he's injured, when he's not playing. But the other 3, obviously, regulars in the top grade. I think Jaden Sewer by far the biggest loss for the Dragons. He's arguably our best forward. I know most on the panel would probably argue Jack DeBellum's our best forward, but Jaden Sewer wouldn't be far behind. He's a huge loss for us, and the fact that we don't have any depth in terms of edge forwards, he's basically he's head and shoulders above any other edge forward that we've got. So it's that to me is a huge out. I know Ben Murdoch-Masilla sort of tried to fill in that role, but I don't see him as edge forward at all. He's been playing there because our other options are pretty ordinary, and that's where we're at now in terms of the players that we've got lining up on the edge this weekend. And all right, going back to Jags Dragons trivia, Jesse, you might have somebody that's got the right answer there.
Yes, so Grant Rower's got the answer. So it was Mark Gasnier scoring 4 tries, round 15, 2004. And I think the name is Peter Placidio Veneziano, I think it is. He actually got the score right. We won 50-0, our biggest ever win, and it was a Sunday afternoon game at Cogra back in 2004.
Yep. All right, you done?
I
Yeah.
do have one follow-up
Well,
question.
go with it then.
And all right, so this week, NRLW returns for season 2023, and put your finger caps on for this one. So it's more of a history one. So this one, so we've played twice at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle, the NRLW side. How many games have they won? And there is a new ex-Newcastle Knights player in our lineup this week. Can you name that NRLW player in the Dragons lineup that used to play for the Newcastle Knights?
There you go. So what was the first part of the question? How many have we won against the Knights?
How many have we won at McDonald Jones Stadium? Not against the Knights.
Okay.
So how many have we won in Newcastle? The
Okay.
NRLW.
Just against the Knights, or have we played there against other teams?
We've played there twice. So yeah.
There we go. All right. Let's see what answers we get coming through there. So that was the first part. Was just how many have we won at McDonald Jones Stadium and the two games that we played there? And what former Knight is in the Dragon squad this weekend? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Beautiful.
Fire away in the comments.
All right. Well, let's see if we've got how many fans of the women's game we've got in there. Maybe Mad Lad. We'll jump in the comments. And see who we've got. But we've definitely got a comment from Darren Etchells that's come through, Hasman, about Jaden Sullivan's injury, saying that the hamstring now is a major concern, as it's happening every year, sometimes twice a year. They need to get some expert advice. I mean, do you see Sullivan's constant hamstring issues as being a major issue for the rest of his career, or is it something that he'll grow out of?
Well, I mean, can you ever really grow out of a recurring injury? Like, I think he probably needs to go over and see that bloke in the States, even though I think you said it, Donnie. He hasn't sort of said anything that NRL physio hasn't said. But no, it's any time a player has a recurring injury, which we seem to see all the time. So I don't know what our bloody fitness guys are doing. There does seem to be a lot of recurring injuries with the Dragons. I mean, Jack Bird's a perfect example of that. He's had knee problems of every shape and size, and still can't work out what's going on with him. So no, I am a little bit concerned. I hope it is something that he can sort of get sorted and get back to 100%. But no, it's definitely a worry if he's the future of the club, the way that everyone seems to think he is. I mean, if he can't sort of live up to it, who's our next choice?
Yeah, and I think that's a big question in terms of do we have to go to market and get a high quality backup for Bud? If he's out injured half the year, then do we need a more reliable option that's going to be there on a regular basis? I think there's certainly a few that are on the market. Jesse just suggesting Jack Cogger, which he's a guy that's going well in a good system. I actually remember seeing Jack Cogger at national titles years and years ago, and it's him and Brock Lamb were the two best players of the tournament. So it's taken a while for him to actually start to find his feet, but he was always a very gifted junior player. So it's nice to see him starting to do well. But again, is he going to be? He's played in 4 or 5 different systems now and been absolutely putrid. So just because he's going well at the Panthers doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to go well if he comes to the Dragons. I think everywhere else he's been pretty ordinary.
It's due to the Panthers players around him making him look better at the Panthers.
Yeah. Again, it's a difficult one as to how much time. Like, you've already put a lot of investment into Sullivan, and I still think he's got the ability to make it to the very top of the game. I think he's an incredibly gifted player. if he gets that time in the top grade. But if he's always injured, he's not going to get that time. And if he's injured, we need somebody else that can go in there and fill that spot, particularly if we don't have Ben Hunt, which I might go to you, Rob. Ben Hunt, he's back this weekend. He's back from Origin duty. You must be stoked to have the King back, mate.
Well, look at the last X amount of weeks. It's been disappointing with the request for release, obviously from Ben Hunt, from his manager. Which I truly think Ben Hunt wants out still. So I can't see that changing. I don't know whether his heart's fully invested in the Dragons anymore. And I was concerned, I think it was Monday evening on 2GB, Flano was interviewed, and Flano said it's his job to try and win Ben Hunt back, to try and get him, back on track with the Dragons. I mean, to me, if a coach is saying that, he's got to get a player back on track. That tells me the player's already gone. But in all that, we've got to get behind our team, behind the Dragons, while Ben Hunt is there as halfback. Reluctantly, I say as captain. I don't think he deserves to be captain anymore, but we have to be behind the team, mate. So while Ben Hunt's steering the ship, we want the best for the Dragons. So I guess we've got to support Ben Hunt as well too. So that's my read on it, but I don't think Ben Hunt will be there next season, mate. I'm pretty certain of it.
Yeah, everyone seems pretty certain of it, but I haven't heard any real whispers in the media or anything that's come out this week saying that he's looking to go. He's still been named. He's still been named as captain. I think probably one negative sign though, Jesse, was you were at the lower grade games on the weekend. There was about 20 of the Dragons first graders there, but our captain, he wasn't one of them.
That's right. Yeah, big bulk of the squad. Obviously, Ben Hunt, no sign there. So obviously that these guys all want to support the club and are real club people, and it's great to see a big bulk of the club and the players supporting the lower grades. Ryan Carr was present there, Ben Wolf, Matt Elliott was he was commentating on the radio. He was very proud of it. And he heard about the big result too. He was up at Belmore calling the Bulldogs Broncos game, but he was very proud to see a lot of the squad there down at Collies on Saturday, and it was great to see. We had two great wins in the Jersey Flag and the New South Wales Cup. We even had 2 NRLW players present as well. So it's not just it's great to see that the club are united as one, and if everyone says there's a culture problem, there's not. Obviously, if you're getting support from the top grade players and the people in New South Wales Cup aspiring to be first graders, they're looking up to those players and say, I want to be in that spot one day, and that's where I want to get to.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fantastic to see so many of the first grade squad there. Coco, Rob sort of let me down with his energy levels there on the Ben Hunt question, but I don't think you're going to.
No, PSA, everyone, I'm going to swear, okay? So better buckle up. All right. This fucking shit about our captain, I'm over it, okay? If he doesn't want to be here, I'm sorry, guys, but he can just fuck off or go to the bench or just not play because I'm over it. I remember Corey Norman did not have passion. We used to have that passion. Yes, we're not winning. Yes, we're down the bottom. But end of the day, if you're our captain, you've got to show role model what to do. Don't just say to anybody or to the media, I don't know, give a shit about the media right now, but to say, I'm going to want out, Yeah, we're not, if you're a winner, that's fine. You can't be a winner every season or every day. And sorry, mate, but you're really starting to piss me off. Get your shit together. You've got, I don't know how many more games to play for us. We used to be a loyalty, passion club. This shit is not good. And I don't care if you're my captain. I don't care anymore. I want you not to be my captain because you're being a shit. So, sorry, guys. I'm done. This Ben Hunt is just making it more negative.
Well, again, Ben Hunt Ben Hunt, I don't know what, during camp for State of Origin 2, what's that, 4 or 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Said, I want to go back to Queensland. That's the only thing Ben Hunt has said. He has not said a word since. So he has not said, I don't want to be at the club. Rob has said he doesn't think he wants to be at the club about 600 times, but Ben Hunt has not said that once.
I think it's
not
that
once
body
has he
language.
said, I don't want to. Yeah, but again, people read a lot into his body language in his last two games with the Dragons. The first one was a couple of days after Origin. He was sick then. He was coming down with the flu. The second game that he played, he'd been crook all week leading up to that game. Anyone that's ever done any sort of physical activity after being laid up with a flu all week, they're going to be low on energy. They're going to be going to have that sort of body language. So
yeah, of course.
I understand the frustration. From
I think
thinking that, like, you think you know what's going on inside Ben Hunt's head, but Ben Hunt hasn't said any of the things that you think. Just because it's going on inside your brain doesn't mean
I
it's
wish
true.
I could run into him. I could have a chat with him.
I think you have to go to what I said to you about what Shane Flanagan said on 2GB on Monday night. Now, Shane Flanagan is the incoming coach. Obviously, he's got his got his hand on the thrower right now. He clearly said in the interview, I have to get Ben Hunt back on track. So what does that mean? I have to get
you're inventing stuff.
No.
You're inventing your own narrative.
No. He's getting back on track.
Yeah, because Ben Hunt has requested a release. They had a very frank meeting together where Ben Hunt said all the things that he was upset about with the club. And it's up to Shane Flanagan to fix those things at the club and make Ben Hunt and get Ben Hunt back to a point where he's happy.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say to you, mate. That's the crux of the situation. That he's trying to get Ben Hunt back into a better place to play good footy for the Dragons again.
Well, getting him to actually stay at the club. Like at the moment, he doesn't feel comfortable at the club. He doesn't feel that the club is heading in the right direction. And it's up to Shane Flanagan to show him that, well, me coming in, the changes that I'm making are going to be positive for the club. It's going to be positive for you. It's going to be positive for everyone here. So stick around and we'll win a comp together.
100% agree. And that's what I'm trying to emphasise with I didn't go so hard on Hunt tonight because I think that there's a method behind the madness with it all. But I still think at the end of the day, don't be surprised in the off-season if Hunt somehow
Totally agree. Every single person you talk to say there's no chance Ben Hunt is still at the club next year. I still think that I'm actually becoming more and more confident that Ben Hunt will be here next year and he will see out the rest of his contract. I was sort of 50-50. I'm now probably 60-40 that he stays. I think there's a better than average chance that Ben Hunt stays. So, but again, I still think there's a 40% chance that he leaves. So it's watch this space. And you see the way that he comes out this week because he's back into training. That's another thing Ryan Carr said before the last game against the Raiders. He said he's had one training session where Ben Hunt's been there in the last 5 or 6 weeks. So when your best player, your captain's not there at all, it's going to be quite difficult to get that continuity. Now I know other teams have a lot more players than just one out with Origin duty. So we probably don't have a lot to complain about there, but it's certainly something to consider that he hasn't actually been at training. Hasman?
Yeah, mate. So I think you're right. There's probably a 60% chance he stays, 40% chance he leaves, and 80% chance that 90% of the fan base is sick of fucking talking about him.
Yeah, that's probably true too. But I think if you're sick of talking about him, then stop following the Dragons because we're going to talk about it every single week. There's going to be a newspaper article. There's going to be discussions. There's going to be people that actually ask the question about what's happening with Ben Hunt every week. And if he stays until 2025, we'll talk about it every week until then. I don't think this is going away. That's the other thing, and it's going to continue to piss Chloe off. Because it's still going to be a topic of conversation that keeps coming up. And it's the same with Zach Lomax. Like Zach Lomax's girlfriend went to the Roosters, 3 or 4 years ago, and still every couple of months a story comes up saying he's going to the Roosters, even though he's been busted up with her since basically she left. Like there's stories that come up all the time. It keeps coming up, even though it's complete and utter bullshit. It's going to be the same with Hunt. Like it's not going to go away. All right, Chloe. One of the changes to the squad this week, a guy that made his debut against the Raiders, and now he gets his starting debut in Dan Russell, moved to start in the second row. Is this something that you expected, or does it surprise you a little bit that they didn't go with a different option?
I think a bit of both, but I think give him a chance. Like I think he did well for his first game with the Dragons, and I think he can not do any worse. So good on him. I think I'd like to see what he can do this week. Being a second rower, hope he makes the good tackles, hard tackles, So yeah, good on him.
Yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity for him. He's obviously, it's taken a long time for him to get this chance. He's a guy that is never going to let you down. And I think we've sort of defended on that side with Ben Murdoch-Masila, and that's actually caused a lot of problems because his lateral movement isn't the best. I think Dan Russell is a guy that can potentially fix that issue. He's obviously a smaller guy, a bit more mobile, might be able to get across and cover that space, and a very, very solid, reliable defender as well. So looking forward to seeing how he goes and how he can actually work in with that troublesome side of the field. Jesse, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I think it's a reward for how versatile he showed himself in the game against the Canberra Raiders a couple of weeks ago. He came on as an edge forward, and then when Zach Lomax moved to fullback, he didn't complain about moving out to the centres. He just Ryan Carr said go there, and he did the job. He didn't complain. He was happy to do there and what was best for the team, and that's what you want to see. As I touched on in that last show, that we need team players, and we need players that will put their hand up and go where required. And I think he deserves an opportunity to have a second game this week, and yeah, hopefully he rips in and goes well.
Right. Stephen Bates saying he thinks Dan will actually be on the right, not the left. So we'll see how they line up this weekend. But yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see a different, basically the same blokes that have been the second rowers for reserve grade all year, and now they're doing it in the top grade. So see if it translates.
Will he play 80 minutes?
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, it'll be tough. Like second game coming in and playing for 80 minutes. Like
he plays 80 minutes every week. Like he'd be fitter than Ben Murdoch-Masila, and he plays 80 minutes. So
okay, yep.
And he's fitter than Jack Bird at the moment. Jack Bird's still struggling with that leg.
Bird's in the squad, so I mean he can go onto an edge if he does get gassed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about Bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still was heavily strapped at that game on the weekend. Yeah, he's still not running at full flight.
We'll get to Bird.
That's my question.
Yeah, exactly. Hasman, Sione Finau, in the extended squad, but he still can't seem to get a chance ahead of an underperforming Matty Finau. Are you surprised not to see Sione come into the side and add that much needed pace to our flanks?
I'm not really surprised at this point, but I think he will get his chance. I mean, we've spoken at length about Finau's defensive sort of lacking. But I mean, even if you take that out of the equation, I mean, Sione's got him covered for